What's really going on with Venezuela? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Welcome to the James Show. That's what we're kicking off the show with today. What's really going on with Venezuela? Because when you and I were talking about this last week, I was telling you, with all the boats getting blown up, I feel like we're missing part of the story. And the reason I was saying that to you last week and probably 2 weeks ago when the whole boat blowing up trend started, it's like a new social media trend. People are doing the cinnamon challenge, the blowing up boat challenge. But the thing that I found weird about it is why Venezuela? This isn't about drugs. If you wanted to stop the flow of drugs and have the most effective boat blowing up operation, you wouldn't start with Venezuela. You'd probably start with Colombia, wouldn't you? Or maybe Mexico. So I suspected, and you were probably with me on this, I'll give you credit, that something else is going on there. Well, you were right. We were right. Something else is going on there. And I have to give credit to 60 Minutes of all places. I give them crap, and their reporting wasn't even unbiased there, but they had a couple of guests on that were kind of tipping the hand here. What this is really all about is flipping Venezuela. It's getting rid of Maduro and the socialist government of Venezuela that has just been grinding its poor population underfoot ever since Hugo Chavez started his little socialism experiment in the 90s.
Earlier this month, President Trump announced he approved covert CIA operations inside Venezuela. What do you think removing Maduro would signal to other socialist regimes in the area?
It'll be the end of Cuba.
Cuba relies on subsidized Venezuelan oil to prop up its economy.
America is going to take care of the Southern Hemisphere, and we're going to make sure that there's freedom and democracy.
So this is about more than drugs then. This isn't about, drugs may be a part of it, but it seems really odd that you would, in order to stop drugs, just blow people up. We don't do that with drug dealers in America. We don't do that with all the drugs that are coming over the border from Mexico. So this wasn't about drugs at all. This was about cutting off Maduro's revenue line so they can topple his government. When they admit that they're doing all kinds of CIA covert operations and they won't go into any kind of detail on it, something's up. So that's what this is about. And you just found out on the James Show, didn't you? Now, but think about it like this. Venezuela has the world's largest proven oil reserves of any country on planet Earth. There's no reason these people should be starving. However, when you kick out the American companies that build the platforms and have the downhole pumps and all the good rigs and the horizontal drilling and the ability to keep it up and build these things and expand and whatnot, and you kick all of us out. In fact, you steal all of our platforms and equipment. They just took everything that Chevron and Exxon and everyone else had left down there. They even took it from the other countries, BP, a British company, Shell, a Dutch company. They just took all their crap. They appropriated, nationalized their oil industry. So this is ours now, but they can't keep it up. So actually their oil output's been declining. And in order to make up what little revenue that they were getting out of the oil industry, they moved into the drug industry. And so now if the oil industry is declining and the price of oil is so low, it's got to be choking them off anyway. If they lose their drug revenue, Maduro's really up a creek. So this is about regime change in Venezuela. And not just Venezuela. The guy was spelling out that on 60 Minutes here, that if Venezuela falls, Cuba's going to be the next to go. And it seems like it would be pretty easy. So you mean to tell me we just got to cut off some narco-terrorism dollars from going into Venezuela and we can flip two of the long-standing thorns in our side from the Western Hemisphere? Yeah, sounds kind of right. Now check this out. 60 Minutes actually, sort of, started to get the analysis right on what happened in Venezuela. They actually said the words. Sharon Alfonsi, who is narrating this, actually put some blame on socialist policies. And then, of course, she steered it right into, other than that, it's America's fault and capitalism's evil and all that stuff. But listen, how do you do a report on this and not admit that when the country's fortunes turned, it wasn't on the heel of socialism?
Freedom isn't the only thing in short supply in Venezuela. Hunger, chronic blackouts, and a scarcity of essential medicines plague the country. Today, more than 70% of residents live in poverty. It is a stunning reversal of fortune for a nation that was once one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Venezuela's economy was crippled by disastrous socialist policies and mismanagement.
Hey.
A crisis exacerbated by 20 years of U.S. sanctions imposed in direct response to the regime's anti-democratic actions, human rights violations, and corruption. That triggered triple-digit inflation and a humanitarian crisis.
Yeah, America and our sanctions triggered triple-digit inflation. Yeah, we made him print a bunch of money. We did that. Sure we did. So eventually she had to try and somehow blame us, but at least she gave a mention there to the socialism aspect of that. There was another part where she was actually allowed to go on the street. This is super rare these days. The press does not get a whole lot of visas to go to Venezuela. In fact, I can't remember the last time I saw a report from an American outlet actually in Venezuela. But Sharon Alfonso was down there, and she was on the street talking to some vendors in an open-air market. They had some tents lined up on a sidewalk. So it looks kind of like you're walking around First Monday or some farmer's market. And a guy in like a little government hat, it looked like a ball cap, but it had like an official seal on it. He's a chivato, just like they had in Scarface. Listen to this.
Are you afraid of the Americans, or are you afraid about speaking about it?
Sí, me da miedo hablar del tema.
Talking about it. Okay, I understand.
One feels nervous and anxious, he said. We don't want anything to happen. This woman chimed in. The Venezuelan people shouldn't be held responsible for the actions of its president. Just then, off camera, a man told her, "You can't say that. Who provided you with this space to work?" He was wearing a hat with an emblem of the government civilian military force.
Hey, it's a chivato. The non-Hispanic people, that's slang for a snitch. This is a word. I think I first heard this in the movie Scarface when he did his little spiel here.
You a communist? Huh? How do you like it? They tell you all the time what to do, what to think, what to feel. Do you want to be like a sheep? Like all those other people, man?
I don't have to listen to this.
You want to work 8, 10 hours, you own nothing, you got nothing? Do you want a chivato on every corner, man, looking after you, watching everything you do, everything you say, man?
And then there was a part where he was in Bolivia and the other drug kingpin, Sosa, had taken Omar Suarez and hung him out of the flying helicopter because he was a snitch. And then he asked Tony Montana, "Are you a chivato?"
So how do I know you're not a chivato too, Tony?
Yeah, so then we actually got to see a chivato. It was on 60 Minutes last night. That was kind of cool. I'd heard about him, I heard about him so much. So is this cool? Are you cool with flipping over Maduro and Venezuela and trying to get rid of a socialist government? Do you think it'll work? Do you think just some other idiot socialist will take over if you can get rid of Maduro? Are you scared about or concerned about boots on the ground in Venezuela? I doubt it'll happen. I really doubt the American people have the stomach for it. But a lot of open-ended question there. And so, yes, we were suspicious last week, and we confirmed it over the weekend. The boat strikes are not about drugs. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, some other socialists, this time in America. AOC speaking at a Mamdani rally. You'll hear it on The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. So what's really going on in Venezuela? Well, it ain't about drugs. What's really going on in New York City? Well, same problem. Socialism. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Welcome to The James Show. And so the same thing that tore Venezuela down is exactly what they're proposing for New York City. I mean, they had what was the wealthiest country in Latin America now turned into a place where you have to break into the zoo to eat the animals. And so this is New York City. This is not something New York is immune to. This is not something America is immune to. We make these terrible decisions. We're going to get the same terrible results, and we're going to deserve them. And, you know, we're going to talk about socialism here, and it seems like sort of an ethereal, far-off concept. But when I look at, like, what am I talking about the rest of the show today? Let's see here. I'm talking about the socialist food stamp program that might get cut off on November 1st. I'm talking about the new public transportation train that's opening from Plano to DFW. I'm talking about so many of these other issues that we're talking about, you know, law enforcement and monetary policy and all these other things, these social programs. You know, this should really hit closer to home than it does with a lot of people. And they're packaging it in the same way it was sold in Venezuela. Hey, we're the richest country in Latin America. There's no reason we can't make sure everyone has some food. Everyone has basic health care. Everyone has, you know, the dignity of some basic necessities here. Then we're going to make a government program for all of it. We're going to socialize a bunch of industries, the oil industry, a whole bunch of other stuff, and we're going to make it fair. That was the same verbiage Hugo Chavez used in the late 90s to seduce the Venezuelans into giving up their prosperity for equality, and they got neither. Here's AOC yesterday at the Zoran Mamdani rally in New York City.
It is a time such as today when demanding affordable housing is considered a radical and outlandish act, that we can afford our lives, our groceries, our transit is considered an outlandish and radical act, that we accept our neighbor as ourselves, a radical and outlandish act. But we must remember, in a time such as this, we are not the crazy ones, New York City.
No, you're not the crazy ones. You're just implementing socialism. What could possibly go wrong? Dennis in Arlington, you're on WBAP.
Hello, James. My thought is, like Venezuela had to go, let the animals out of the zoo to eat them. I think they can hunt them on the street quite easily, especially as the tenements pour out about not getting their SNAP payments. And just a little tongue-in-cheek stuff there.
No, that was funny. I love that.
Well, each state is supposed to be assuming responsibility for their SNAP, and I think you were speaking on that recently.
Yes, and I will be later today, too, yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of interesting, huh? Okay, that's just my observation, and thanks to you for a lot of it. Thanks, man.
Hey, great observation. Look, I think it's time we go review the montage I made last year, and this was made because when Kamala Harris was first, had the spotlight shown on her because everyone realized Joe Biden, we can't hide the fact that he's just a walking human Roomba right now. She came out with her first just slew of ideas, and then they shut her up the rest of the campaign because they were so bad. They were so socialist. And so we went through on the James Show last year, and there was an interview with an Austrian immigrant who she grew up in Austria, and in the middle of her schooling, Hitler took over in Austria, and he changed a whole bunch of policies. And when she talked about the policy changes, how is this different than what AOC just said or what Hugo Chavez just did? Or I guess now it's Nicolas Maduro. But tell me, is this right wing or is this left wing?
So the first thing what happened, we had to carry national ID cards. The newspaper, before it hit the street, it was being censored by the government. Everybody was getting a guaranteed income from the government. In order to achieve that, they had to raise our taxes up to 70%. Those who were on the lower income level, they got subsidized housing, food stamps, they got heating fuel, and they got a certain amount of payment from the government for each child. Before Hitler, of course, the moms stayed home and they raised their families. But under socialism, the moms were being put out into the workforce, so what happened to the children? Child care centers. It was all free for everybody. We even prayed in public school before class and after class. We were being told not to listen to our parents. They were just old-fashioned old fogies. Hitler also nationalized our car industry. Hitler nationalized our banks. He nationalized our healthcare system. When a couple was not 100% Aryan and the woman was pregnant, she was forced to have an abortion. We also had euthanasia, killing people. We also had gun control. Keep your guns and stack up on your ammo.
Okay, so just to review there, like what's the big difference there? What is the difference between what Mamdani, AOC, what they're proposing, the Bernie Sanders in America is proposing, and what Hitler did, where he did welfare, he did cash payments, he did food stamps, he did heating assistance, utilities assistance, he did Section 8, he did higher taxes, up to 70%. They encourage women in the workplace. No, don't stay home and raise your kids. No. And if that's inconvenient for you, free daycare. Who proposed free daycare? Kamala did last summer. No religion in public school. There's one party that's trying to put the 10 Commandments up in classrooms. There's one party that's trying to fight it. They took the Bible out of library classrooms. Who took religion out of public schools? Oh, that's right, Hitler. Who's telling you your parents are old fogies? You don't need to listen to them. There's this new progressive way of thinking where Hitler nationalized auto industry, banks, and healthcare. Now, we haven't got to cars and banks yet. But there is one party that wants to nationalize healthcare. Which one is it in this country? Which party's pro-abortion? Which party's pro-euthanasia? Which party's pro-gun control? And y'all are telling us that this is the new way to go? Here's AOC again yesterday.
To demand an affordable and decent housing, a decent wage, the right to health care, that we pay to care for our people instead of the flattening of Palestinians and oppressed people abroad is not a radical act. It is basic and core humanity. That is why the election of Zohran is as important as our cause today. Childcare, buses, rent, and our rights.
Yeah, and I forgot to leave out maybe just a little bit anti-Semitic, that Hitler guy, right? 800-288-9227. Coming up next, more audio from AOC at the Mamdani rally where she's encouraging people to break the law. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. AOC and Mamdani, the two socialists in New York that are saying what they shouldn't really be saying out loud. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. You know, when you live in a big city like New York City and you never really have a reason to leave. New York City! You have a bubble going on where, I don't know, 70, 80% of the people around you are on Team Blue. The other 20, 30% are cowed into not speaking their mind and just keeping their mouth shut and keeping their head down and not being a part of the conversation. You have reason to believe that every sane person thinks like you. And so when you turn on the TV, you've got to be befuddled like, hey, why don't you promise the people what we really want? We want to give them free housing and free food, and who wouldn't want all that? Well, they're finally saying it. I was playing a couple of examples for you in the last segment. If you missed it, go check out the podcast after the show. But here is AOC after pining for socialism and all the same socialist programs socialists always pined for. Here she is actively telling constituents to break the law and fight ICE.
Like that we saw last week, a young woman in a polka dot dress standing up to a secret police officer in Canal Street. She is New York City. The young man in a white helmet jumping off his bicycle saying, "Not in my neighborhood." That is New York City.
Yeah, you see these people breaking the law by interfering with law enforcement officers executing their duties. Yeah, let's encourage that and keep doing that. Okay, wow. So you're advocating for the same siren song that took down Venezuela and, I don't know, every other socialist country, including Austria back in the 1930s. Hello? And then she's also encouraging people to break the law. I cannot believe that this guy's about to win. I can't believe that she's about to get reelected, yet here we are. This is Marshall in Bedford. You're on WBAP.
I would like to say just a couple of things. Thank you for taking my call. Socialism, communism has never worked for anybody except for the upper ups, the politicians that instituted, but the masses are the ones that suffer. And my father always told me, nothing is free. There's always a backside that's hidden, and that's where you get screwed. Pardon my language.
Well, no, and look, you're bringing up a little nuance that's worthy of mentioning here. If you're Zoran Mamdani or you're AOC, socialism really isn't scary because you're going to be one of the people that's in the inner party that's going to benefit from it. So, like the example I like to use, you remember the Orwell book Animal Farm, Marshall?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a scary book for everybody except for the pigs. If you're the pigs, that's a pretty sweet setup you got there. You got to tell all these people, oh yeah, we're all going to be equal now, and none of us are going to be rich anymore. I mean, we got to sleep in the house, just for business sake. And I know we said no one's going to walk upright, and we're starting to walk upright. And I don't know, said no one's going to eat at the table anymore, and no one's going to dine with humans, but we just have to break these few rules so everyone can be equal. It's the same damn thing. And so, it's the same thing with 1984. 1984 isn't a scary book if you're in the inner party. 1984 is a scary book if you're the rest of us, but if you're one of the people that is pulling the reins of power, that's a sweet deal they got.
Well, there's very little space at the top of the pyramid, just for a few. But the rest of them, it's on their shoulders, and they're the ones that are left out. And why common sense does not dictate to people that have a half a brain that it just does not work. And all you got to do is look at history to prove it.
Yeah, okay, but when you add up both the media and academia not telling that story, it's understandable why young people don't know it. And when Hugo Chavez died, you people who want equality and are worried about the maldistribution of wealth, there was one family that was billionaires left in Venezuela, and it was the Hugo Chavez family. There's your equality, people. This is Roger in Grapevine. You're on WBAP.
Yeah, just one comment. Socialism doesn't work, and Margaret Thatcher said when you run out of other people's money, it's a failure. And U.S. government better not bail out New York when they fail.
Well, we do have the precedent where New York has failed before, and I think some people listening remember when it went bankrupt in the 70s and they asked for a bailout, and who told them? Because it was on like the front of the New York Post. I remember the headline. It said New York City dropped dead. And what was that? Reagan? Was it Jimmy Carter? Was it Nixon? Was it Ford? Who denied the bailout of New York City before I was coherent? I learned this in retrospect. Do you remember that, Roger?
I do not, but it sure wouldn't have been Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it, but if I don't know, I'm not going to speak with any sort of authority here. Let's see. Oh, okay. It was Gerald Ford, and it was the New York Daily News. Thanks for making me think of that, Roger. Good call. Yeah, Ford to City, drop dead was the famous headline from the New York Daily News during the New York City financial crisis in 1975. Did they learn their lessons? No, here we are 50 years later, and they're doing the same mistakes. Well, that's a shame. All right, well, coming up next on The James Show, more on the great food stamp crash out of 2025. We have a date of action that you'll learn next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Are you all ready for the great food stamp crash out of 2025? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. And I'm sure you know that unless the government shutdown gets concluded pretty much immediately or in the next couple of days, we're going to have EBT cards all across America that aren't going to be refilled. Uh-oh. And so regular listeners of the James Show have been delighting over a flurry of threats and complaints and lamentations and wailing and gnashing of teeth. But now as we get closer to the date, it really feels like we may get to taste a little bit of this, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. Here's one thing that I can update on the narrative is there seems to be a date of action here, a first date of action.
People, my people, I wish we stopped crying about this EBT card. At the end of the day, they trying to see is we going to stick together. And we are going to stick together. November 3rd at 6:30, we're going to Walmart. And at 7:30, we're going to walk out of Walmart with our buggies, okay? The thing is, they can catch everybody. You feel me? All you got to do is run, Forrest, run, okay? We have to stick together. It don't even matter. As long as we going to have everything we need for Thanksgiving, that's all that matters. Run, Forrest, run. Remember, put it in your calendar. November 3rd, 6:30 to 7:30. You better be running up them.
You know, I am feeling this strange instinct to defend Walmart. Like Walmart needs my defense. Like the biggest retailer in the world needs a little old Parker to step up. But I don't know. I feel like getting a posse together. Who wants to join a posse? We'll be patrolling Walmart ourselves, just going back and forth between the two entrances. We don't have to be on horseback or anything, but can we get like the Walmart? Look, and the reason why it's not like, James, what kind of simp is shilling for billionaires? And I'm not. Listen, Walmart is woven in the fabric of America at this point. And as someone who my Austrian economics can verify that there is not one company or government program or combination of government programs that has done more to improve the standard of living of the common man in America than Walmart. Walmart is the greatest anti-poverty program America has come up with thus far. America's poor rely on Walmart more than any other company. So it's insane, especially if you care about poor people, to have this company hurt, to have this company attacked, to have this company damaged. And that's a very short-sighted thinking on the part of the food stamp crash outs. As long as we get our food for Thanksgiving, how long do you think this method is going to last? If you get away with the first time, we're going to have what? We're either going to have stores ramping up their anti-theft measures, whether it's the cops getting in or they're hiring private security or they start taking things away or locking things up or who knows what they're going to do. Maybe checking every basket before it goes out, putting in turnstiles. They're either going to do that or just close the stores in the neighborhoods where the people are stealing. This is not a long-term solution. You have to think more than 15 minutes in front of your face, or you're not going to like the results. Yeah, so November 3rd, they're supposed to start shopping at 6:30. At 7:30, they all walk out at the same time. What happens if they all walk out at the same time and there's just a bunch of people there with our arms crossed saying, did you pay for that? And then turn around and go back in. What are they going to do? Are they going to fight all of us? What if we outnumber them? What if we outgun them? Interesting thing to think about. And so there's still a bunch of people pushing back on this too. But there's also this weird morality twist that I'm noticing in this food stamp debate. Because somehow you have to, in your head, you have to rationalize something that's irrational. How is it morally wrong for me to take food stamps away from you? Well, not only are they saying it's morally wrong, they're saying it's evil. In fact, there's a weird racial angle to it as well. Check this one out.
Now, slavery and police brutality aside, do you know how incredibly evil you have to be to deny someone food? What deep, dark depths of hell do you have to stoop to find it in your heart to not want the next person to have a hot dog?
All right, stop it right there real quick. I don't want to deny anyone food. I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just keeping more of my own money. I'm going to prevent them from taking things away from other people. They're the ones that are taking stuff. They are the ones that are getting food based on the money that they didn't work for, that someone else worked for, that was taken from someone else. I'm going to stop the taking of stuff from people. Food stamps are taking things from people. So when you end the theft from people, I mean, they call it taxes, but is it really that different? It's involuntary. It's taken from you whether you like it or not and given to other people by government. It's legal, but it's still theft. I am stopping the taking of things. And I am not stopping anyone from getting food. If you want to get food, go get some food. You don't have any money? We'll sell something. Do you not own anything? We'll get a job. Or rely on the private voluntary donations of other human beings around you. You don't have any friends? You don't have any family? You don't have any brothers, sisters, mom, dads, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins, second cousins, third cousins, college roommate, former boyfriend, current boyfriend. There's not one other human being on earth that will help you out. There's not one person will say, yeah, you can crash on my couch, or sure, you can. I'll feed you dinner. You don't have one friend, or you don't have one friend that's not a parasite. But check this out. It gets really ugly after this, because once they start on that moral crusade, then they get all fired up about it. And once they convince themselves, well, it's evil if I can't take money from you to buy food, look at what this leads to.
That's a different level of savagery. That's why I say the DNA, the composition of the DNA is not normal. Because we've already established that all lives don't really matter. Even though that's what you all love to say whenever you want to deflect. It's your brains that we need to study. What is it with you all that you are so, what is with your brains that you are so committed to people being subservient to you? Be the most mediocre people with the most mediocre history and the most mediocre culture, if you even want to call it that I've ever seen or heard of in my life. What do you have that you haven't stolen?
That's such a weird form of racism there. Yeah, white people don't have a culture. I mean, that's ridiculous. From Leonardo da Vinci to Amadeus Mozart to going to the freaking moon. Sorry, that's not enough for you. But look, that aside, that got weird and racial, right? What the heck was that? White people are trying to take food away from black people? Is that how you see this? God, that's kind of racist in itself. Because she's implying that without white people having money taken from them, black people wouldn't be able to feed themselves. I don't think that's the case. I don't think they are some disparate other that based on the color of their skin, they're not able to feed themselves while white people can. I mean, that's sort of a white supremacist position she's taken, but I doubt she's a white supremacist. So I've been quite amused by the food stamp crash out and the moral twisting and mental gymnastics that's being had by the people crashing out. I just want to let you know the date, the first big date we have of action. And this is just viral videos. I don't know if this is going to stick or if the date's going to move or some other viral video is going to supersede it. But I just wanted you to be updated on that's what we have thus far in the great food stamp crash out of 2025. Coming up next, Donald Trump toys with the idea of a third term. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Would you support a Trump third term? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to the big show. And here on the James Show, we say no. No, I do not support a Trump third term. Why even bring this up? Well, I mean, I'm not bringing it up. Trump didn't even bring it up. He was asked about it. And I hate it when he does this. He was on the plane. He was on Air Force One going somewhere. And this is from this morning. So the audio is terrible, but it is the most captivating piece of audio you're going to hear on WBAP today. Here you
Well, I haven't really thought about it. We have some very good people, as you know. But I have the best poll numbers I've ever had. I mean, I just solved 8 wars and a 9th is coming. I believe Russia, Ukraine will happen.
You said that for 2028, they're very good people.
Well, we have great people. Well, I don't have to get into that, but we have one of them standing right here. We have JD, obviously. The vice president is great. I think Marco's great. I think, I'm not sure if anybody would run against us. I think if they ever formed a group, it would be unstoppable. I really do. I believe that. I would love to do it. I have my best numbers ever. It's very terrible. I have my best numbers. If you read it, am I not ruling it out? I mean, you'll have to tell me. All I can tell you is that we have a great group of people, which they don't.
There you go. We have a great group of people, which they don't. But then he also said in there, I know it was tough, so if you're in a place where you can't hear very well, he also said this guy behind me is pretty good. Marco Rubio standing behind him. And he said if J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio teamed up, they would be unstoppable as well. So it wasn't that, yeah, I'm thinking about it or I'm going to. It's that, I don't know, I haven't really thought about it much. And some people say I can, it might be a good thing. And I don't know. He's not ruling it out. But then at the end there, he kind of said, well, we got a great bench and they don't. And when he says they, he means Team Blue. And so he was asked about his recent cognitive test that he had at Walter Reed. And he said, not only did I do good, I did great. And I would like to challenge AOC and Jasmine Crockett to do the same battery of tests.
Am I not ruling it out? I mean, you'll have to tell me. All I can tell you is that we have a great group of people, which they don't. They have Jasmine Crockett, a low IQ person. They have AOC's low IQ. You give her an IQ test. Have her pass like the exams that I decided to take when I was at Walter Reed. Those are very hard. They're really aptitude tests, I guess, in a certain way, but they're cognitive tests. Let AOC go against Trump. Let Jasmine go against Trump. I don't think Jasmine, the first couple of questions are easy. A tiger, an elephant, a giraffe, you know. When you get up to about 5 or 6, and then when you get up to 10 and 20 and 25, they couldn't come close to answering any of those questions.
All right, now that's a fun challenge to throw out there. I hope they take him up on it. I bet they don't. But when it comes to a Trump third term, no, I'm against it, but I don't think he's really running. In fact, I don't think he really even wants to. But I do think he likes to irritate the exact people that this would irritate. It doesn't irritate me. I'm not losing any sleep over it. Oh, I knew he was literally Hitler. See, I'm trying to tell you. No, the Trump-tard and MAGA people out there didn't believe me, and now they look... Shut up. He's just saying this just to annoy you, if anything else. So what do you think? 800-288-9227. This is Ryan in Highland Park. You're on WBAP.
Hey, what's going on? Let's go Trump all day. Third term, fourth term, fifth term, sixth term. Let's make it happen. This guy's the smartest guy that we've ever had in office, at least in my lifetime. He would smoke AOC and that idiot Jasmine Crockett in any kind of cognitive or intelligence test. They shouldn't even be in the conversation. And, yeah, that's kind of where I'm standing with it. What's wrong with this guy? He's running this country the best way that it's been ran in many, many, many years.
So is there no limit to how long any term limits for a president in your eyes?
Hey, make him king of the United States.
So you want to just abolish the Constitution and make him king?
I mean, that's silly talk because that'll never happen. But at the end of the day, if someone's doing the job right, why do you get rid of them? Look at all these CEOs.
Okay, well then say president for life. Don't say king. King implies that he has.
Well, they want to bring up this no kings protest crap. So I'm going to say let's king him then, just to make all these people upset because they don't know what they're talking about.
How do you square that with your reverence for the precedent set by George Washington with 2 terms?
Well, George Washington was in a lifetime that none of us have been living in. So you can't talk about things that happened that far long ago.
Well, Second Amendment happened that long ago. Did it expire too?
Yeah, everything happened a long time ago. I think there could be amendments to amendments.
All right. Well, what's the expiration date on freedom of speech?
Oh, now you're going to talk about freedom of speech.
I'm just saying, just because something was written in the late 1700s doesn't mean it's obsolete, and it better not, or we're in deep trouble.
Well, that seems to be the direction we're going right now in this country anyways.
So don't we need to turn it around or change it? How would you?
Putting a different guy in the presidency other than Donald Trump right now, what he's been working for and for this country every day, that guy wakes up every morning busting his butt for this country. It's unbelievable what this guy does, and people want to knock him for it on like 3-4 hours of sleep, flying across different countries, putting out wars in the Ukraine and Israel.
No one's criticizing the job he's doing. We're criticizing the fact that he would.
No, a lot of people.
The idea that he would go for a third term. Well, I'm not. So you're talking to me. So talk to me, Ryan. I don't like a third term for Trump or anyone. Would you feel the same way if Obama tried to run again?
Well, Obama kind of had a third term with Biden in there. You know who was pulling the strings with that?
Sure. Well, then why don't you just let Trump do that? Let J.D. Vance run in
We'll
his
have
stead.
J.D. Vance. We'll have Marco Rubio come in. It's technically we'll have Trump still calling the shots a little bit, advising them or whatever, but it's someone else as
heavily influencing them. Yes.
They all have the same thought process and the way of doing things. So yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool. There it is. Ryan in Highland Park. Thank you very much for calling. What do you think about Ryan? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Or you can send me an email, parker@wbap.com. Send me a Facebook message. I would like to hear from more people. What do you think about the idea of a Trump third term? Because I know a whole lot of really pro-Trump people who say, no, 2's enough. We don't need to break that precedent, because that sounds like something that'll be used against us almost immediately. Coming up next, Preston Brashers from the Heritage Foundation. We're going to talk about the headlines that affect your money next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. And if you're thinking about repainting your home, I want to stop you from making a huge error. And I'm not going to be able to convince you in a minute, but what I want you to do is go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Have Gary come out, give you an estimate, and I actually show you how the product works. And then you'll be informed and be able to make the better decision here on whether or not the guy on the radio is full of it or not. But paint is something that is a technology we have moved past now that Rhino Shield is here, because it's not going to paint, it's not going to chip, it's not going to crack, it's not going to flake, it's not going to peel. When you come back in 5 years, it's going to be just about the same color. It fades far, far slower than paint ever does, but it also blocks UV rays. It insulates your home. It breathes with your home. It expands. It contracts. It's 8 times thicker than paint, but it won't change the surface texture. Comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. But I'm not asking you to buy Rhino Shield or even finance it and get the payment started. I'm just asking you to give Gary a call, to come out, look at your house, tell you how much it costs, how it works, and then you can make the decision on whether or not to move forward. So I'm not, and that's all free. Gary coming into your house, looking over things and explain the process is absolutely free. So you have no excuse to not go to rhinoshielddfw.com, rhinoshielddfw.com. We'll get back to the third term discussion after we look at the headlines that are affecting your money. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Welcome to the James Show. And welcome to my next guest coming back on from the Heritage Foundation, Preston Brashers. Thank you very much for coming back on the James Show. A couple of things I want to start with. September's inflation report just came in at the end of last week. How would you rate this, good or bad? Well, is that going to have a drag on economic growth? Yeah, and that was kind of the next big question there is GDP growth. Can we keep up the pace that we're at now? Because, I think as long as we keep it in the threes, it's going to be hard for anyone to consider this a slow economy. We're talking with Preston Brashers from Heritage Foundation. The market's doing great today, and the rumor says that there's some positive progress between U.S. and China on trade talks. Does that mean we're getting close to the end of these tariff convulsions? Yeah, well, we have now the shutdown that's moved past the third week, and the markets don't seem to care. Are we going to get some market shocks if these EBT cards and some other benefits are cut off at the beginning of November? Because that would necessarily pull some spending and demand out of circulation. Yeah, Preston, I see they're still taking money out of my check whenever I get paid. So they're not that shut down. What if these Obamacare subsidies are allowed to expire as according to the law at the end of the year? Because if there's a rise in premiums, that's going to theoretically chew into people's disposable income. That might take a little bit of spending and aggregate demand out of circulation. What do you think, Preston? Well, all right, Preston Brashers. I really appreciate the optimism because, I share your optimism. It just feels good to hear someone else say it, especially someone from Heritage. Thank you, sir. All right. See, so I don't know. Maybe I just like him so much because he sounds like me. But coming up next, we have some people lining up to talk about the specter of a Trump third term. Would you be okay with that? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. It's your chance to win part of $5K a day on WBAP. Your chance at $1,000 is right now. Pay off some bills. Just text WEALTH to 95819. That's WEALTH, WEALTH, to 95819. And you could score $1,000. Sponsored locally by Mullen & Mullen Injury Law Firm. Good luck. Yeah, I'm not so sure about the idea of a Trump third term. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. But if you're just joining us, he said it on Air Force One this morning. He was asked about it. Sorry about the noise.
Well, I haven't really thought about it. We have some very good people, as you know. But I have the best poll numbers I've ever had. I mean, I just solved 8 wars and a 9th is coming. I believe Russia, Ukraine will happen.
You said that for 2028, there are very good people.
Well, we have great people. Well, I don't have to get into that, but we have one of them standing right here. We have JD, obviously. The vice president is great. I think Marco's great. I think, I'm not sure if anybody would run against us. I think if they ever formed a group, it would be unstoppable. I really do. I believe that. I would love to do it. I have my best numbers ever. It's very terrible. I have my best numbers. If you read it, am I not ruling it out? I mean, you'll have to tell me. All I can tell you is that we have a great group of people, which they don't.
All right. If you couldn't understand that, he was asked about it. He said he hadn't ruled it out. And then he said Marco, who was standing behind him, Marco and Vance would beat anybody who you put up against them anyway. But no, I haven't ruled it out. And that's where we stand. I've been getting a lot of messages on Facebook and the email, parker@wbap.com. James, another James, says, I'm okay with the amendment that was proposed that a third term immediately after the second, as long as the first and second terms weren't congruent. Otherwise, no, Democrats have a tendency to not leave, cough, FDR. Yeah, all right, well, that's a pretty good take on it. What do you think? 800-288-9227. Let's ask David in Bedford. You're on WBAP.
Well, hey, James. You know, absolutely. I mean, I support President Trump, and he's unbelievable. There's no doubt about it. The hardest working president we've ever seen for the country and for the USA. Yes, Franklin Roosevelt was elected 4 times, and then they passed the 22nd Amendment, then limits to 2. But if this president right now in midterms, and the Democrats have nothing to run on, has a complete sweep of both House and Senate at large numbers and can propose another amendment to make it happen, why not? It could. That's a possibility. And 2, there are some saying that the 22nd Amendment doesn't say what you think it says. And that there's a loophole there to run for a third term. I don't know. But President Trump can keep his cognitive ability and is turning this country the way it should have never gone and fallen from in that direction. If it takes him a third term to do it, why not? But he does have good support of J.D. Vance and others, even his own children possibly. We're seeing a renaissance that's going on in this country, and President Trump is leading the way.
So what about George Washington setting the precedent that no president should have more than 2 terms? You're okay with the
President Trump, in the beginning, George Washington was great too. They offered him to be king. He said no. They didn't have this war for him to be king. And he just flippantly said 2 terms. I mean, why not? I mean, 2 terms, by the time you're the age these guys are and serve 2 terms, you know, you have your farms, you have your family, maybe 2 terms is a limit. But President Trump looks like he's reached his, he's up there now. He's older. He's pushing 80. Lots of energy. Maybe he'd like to serve another term and maybe die in office. Who knows? But
I'm so interested listening to the people like yourself, who generally speaking, you're in favor of the Constitution and you're in favor of term limits and you're against tyranny and people acquiring power and holding it forever. But you're making exceptions for this guy. And, I hear, and when I read the history books and listen to audiobooks and podcasts and whatnot, there's a weird duality of there's always going to be people who want to have power forever. Now, the interesting part for me is how do they convince the public that this is good, that you have a dictator for life, or you have a president for life, or you have a king for life. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting watching people's minds be changed in front of me, because my mind's not changed at all. I don't care if it was me. I don't want a third term.
maybe if you shake the trees hard enough, I mean, President Trump needs to shake some sense of the Democrat Party. So they need to get on the bandwagon of Make America Great Again and have some ideas and say, hey, look, here's how we can do it better, but don't do it in a form of socialism or communism. Join the team. You're the Democrat Party. Put some ideas out there. What would John Kennedy do? Adopt his policies and move forward as the Democrat Party used to do. And nobody ever questioned the loyalty of the Democrat Party until recently.
Well, that's the siren song of socialism, is the idea that you'll be able to live at someone else's expense. You will get a better standard of living because you will use the government to take money and resources from other people and give it to you. So that always makes sense. I mean, it's not rational, but it makes sense why people would accept an irrational policy because the promises are so good. And if socialism really could deliver that, I'd have a hard time arguing against it. It's just you and I both know that hasn't worked out so far. The whole socialism.
America's the shining city on the hill that everybody would love to be part of around the world. And people come here and they expect a lot, and maybe we need to do more to help people achieve their goals. And in life, that as long as you're trying to achieve, and you're never really going to completely fail, and as long as you're willing to work hard and try.
Well, David,
there has to be
do you understand my position to where even if he did everything perfect in my eyes, I still wouldn't want a third term?
That's perfectly fine. I mean, hey, if the American people feel that way, that's great. But I don't want a king either. If Franklin Roosevelt became close to that with four terms, but his policies of from cradle to grave was born.
Yeah, well, but David, if this had been the lay of the land just a few years ago, Obama would still be president. You understand that, right?
That is true, and that is a scary thought. Maybe hey, I know what you're saying. I understand.
Well, good chat. Thank you very much. That's David in Bedford, 800-288-9227. We'll continue. Oh, and I've got to play you Trump's evaluation of his MRI. He had to go to Walter Reed and have all kinds of tests done. He had an MRI. Do you think he said it was below average, above average, or perfect? Find out next on The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. How do you feel about a Trump third term? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. I'm against it. I think most people are against it, but I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of people calling in saying they would be for it, and that goes against our mores, that goes against our traditions, that goes against the values that were, term limits weren't originally written into the Constitution for the president, but the precedent was set for the president, whatever, was set by George Washington when he voluntarily left power after 2 terms, never to run again. And that precedent was honored by every American president for almost 200 years until stupid old FDR had to go break the rules. And so then we put out an amendment saying, all right, it's 2 terms, it's official. And, that was a great and noble thing. And in fact, that is almost unheard of through the history of the world. And he was called the Cincinnatus for that. And Cincinnatus was a guy who got to run the place, his Roman Republic, I think, still for a while when they were doing consuls. So he was put in charge, and then he won. They offered to put him in charge. He said no. So he went out to go farm. And then there was like a civil war. There's a whole nother mess with another outside war. On top of that, he united the country, went to war, got power again, won again, was offered to run the place past what the term limits had, and he said no a second time. He had even lost his son in the war and still said no. George Washington, same thing. He was offered, the last caller said they offered to make him king. They did twice. They did after the Revolutionary War, which was like 1776 to 1783. Then they had the goofy Articles of Confederation period. And then when the Constitution was actually set out and ratified 1789-ish, because it was a long process. When they started the presidency, they offered him a second time. He turned it down a second time. After drafting the Constitution and being at the forefront of that, he had the reins of power and could have made himself president. He turned it down twice, and he lost his son in the war. I mean, technically it was his stepson, but don't be a jerk about it. Also, he got an MRI, and I asked you before the break, was it a below average MRI, above average MRI, or a perfect MRI?
Did you get an MRI? Can you tell us what
I
that
did.
was?
I got an MRI. It was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. I know it. You know it. Everybody knows it. Believe me. Love that guy. Elizabeth and Electra, you're on WBAP.
Hey, Parker. Well, I voted for Trump 3 times. The first time I voted against Hillary. Actually, I was pretty
liberal.
I'm not in tune to no. I've never been liberal. Actually, I don't think I wouldn't have called myself liberal. I've always been registered an independent. But however, I did jump sides one time officially, and it was for health insurance, and I was stupid for that. But yeah, I voted for him 3 times. The second and third time, I voted for him because of his merits. If we're in an emergency, I think the Constitution allows for something, well, maybe not a third term, but it's allowed to extend his.
No, there's nothing in there for that. No, and that's one of the things that bugs me. There is no emergency clause in the Constitution, but it gets talked about a lot. Like in COVID, they're like, well, yeah, I know we're not supposed to tell you can't go to church on Sunday or when and where you can go from point A to point B, but this is an emergency. No, there's no such thing as an emergency clause in the Constitution. Either you can do it or you can't, and they were supposedly not supposed to do that, but whatever.
Right. Well, I'm for the Constitution, and it's official that it's supposed to be 2 terms. So that's how I feel about it. You follow the law, no matter how much you like the guy, and no matter how good he's for the country, unless everybody votes for it to add an amendment, to add an exception.
Well, I see where you're going with that, and I hear a lot of people who are pro-Trump but against the third term saying that, because the recognition isn't that wouldn't this be good for Trump or wouldn't this be good for the country? It would be, how bad would this be if this new power gets used against you? Because on a long enough time scale,
Right, exactly.
It definitely will. Thank you very, very much, Elizabeth. Good to hear from you. This is Steve in Commerce. Hey, Steve, you're on WBAP.
Hey, you just kind of covered what I was going to say. It would take a constitutional amendment for him to have a third term. So I think it is irresponsible journalism to even consider this, even to bring it up. I don't understand why you're covering this topic.
What do you mean? Because he was asked about it.
But it's stupid to ask people if they think they should support this. He can't run again. So it's a moot point.
Bro, I wish you were right, Steve, because I find most of the stuff we talk about here is outside the bounds of the Constitution and shouldn't even be up for discussion. We shouldn't have a Department of Education. We shouldn't have food stamps. Here we are talking. I've been talking about food stamps like for the last 2 weeks here. You didn't call in on that one. Why are we even having this conversation? This is not in the conversation.
I agree with you 100% on
Well,
that.
we have to talk about things that aren't constitutional all the time because they happen all the time. So I'm not going to ignore it and just let it hit me in the face.
Oh, well, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to discuss something like this when it's not possible.
Look, that's your point of view. And Steve, don't you at least have
constitutional amendment?
Agreed.
Allow him.
But
you're never going to get that in.
I agree with that too. Now, aren't you kind of fascinated to hear the people explain themselves on how they are open to this?
No, I'm more fascinated listening to you shill for Prize Picks in the midst of an NBA cheating scandal.
Okay. I don't understand how those are connected, but yeah.
I mean, you're doing all these ads for them. Why would anybody get on one of those sites to bet knowing that you've got point shaving going on?
All right. Thank you very much, Steve in Commerce. Can you bet on Prize Picks if Trump will get a third term? You can pick terms. 2 terms. You pick more or less. You can win up to 2,000 times your money with Prize Picks. Use promo code WBAP. Catherine in Grapevine, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James.
Hey, Catherine.
Met you at WeatherCon. Loved it. Anyway, you know what? As happy as I am that man is president, he could be the dictator of the United States for the rest of my life, and I'd be tickled pink.
Here it is. People calling for tyranny. They just can't.
I'm serious. As good as he's doing, as everything's,
No, see, Catherine, I'm so glad you called. And I don't mean this as a pejorative, but like when I read history and you had the Roman Republic for like 700 something years or 400 years or however long it was, where they didn't have a dictator, they didn't have a king. They were like the only republic in town in the whole Mediterranean. They were doing good with their Senate and their consuls. And all of a sudden, Julius Caesar came along and the people were begging, please make him dictator for life. Screw this whole republic thing. We want an empire. We don't want our full complement of rights. We want things to go downhill and you can inflate our currency and start forever wars. It'll be great.
I know. But, I just can't help but think it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, be self-aware that you are getting caught up in a cult of personality. This is not a rational thought you're having, Catherine.
Oh, come on, James. I know it's not real.
Okay, good. All right. Well, if you're just saying it because other people are going to hear it and get irritated, I actually love that because I think that's what Trump's doing. And yeah, and I think that's what a lot of the Trump people are doing. They're like, I'm going to say this, and this is going to horrify all the right people.
Oh yeah, I want him to just like have a stroke or something.
All right. Catherine trying to give people strokes over there from Grapevine. Thank you very much, Catherine. Come out to WeatherCon next year. We'll say hi. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Hey, there's a new boycott being called for. Home Depot and Spotify. I'll explain next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, there's another round of boycotts you need to know about. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. This time in the sights of the politically concerned are Home Depot and Spotify. Now, the Home Depot one might be kind of obvious. It's like, why would someone boycott Home Depot? Well, who hangs out in front of Home Depot? Exactly. And so where have a bunch of ICE raids been? And what are they cooperating or exactly? So here's Chelsea Handler, famed comedian, former late night talk show host, Chelsea Handler, explaining the boycott of both Home Depot, but Spotify?
My last week's video about my Home Depot boycott, there were a couple of questions in my messages or comments, and one was, Chelsea, did you get a lip flip? And the answer to that is no. The second question was, Chelsea, have you ever been inside a Home Depot? And the answer to that is yes, I have, many, many years ago. And luckily, it looks like I'll never have to set foot in one again. But also, my house is under construction, so it's a perfect time for a larger boycott to Home Depot. If you scroll through my carousel, there's more information on Home Depot, and there's going to be a mass protest at all the Home Depots on 11/1, November 1st, which is Day of the Dead. And I'm also going to double down on my boycott, and I'm now boycotting Spotify. I've deleted Spotify from all of my stuff, from my phone, from my iPads. They are running ICE recruitment ads. And I am really disgusted watching any of these companies profit off of ICE. So the only way to get their attention is to boycott them. I hope you'll join me.
God. You're boycotting Spotify because they're running ICE ads. You know, when we were watching football yesterday, I say we, I assume you were watching football like a good American, a good little Texan. No, but during football, a lot of people noticed that there were ICE recruitment ads, $50,000 signing bonus, and get to whip Mexicans or whatever. I'm kidding. You don't really. That was a reference to the scandal where they were accused of whipping people when they were on horseback or whatever. But you're boycotting Spotify for taking money from ICE to run ads. Good Lord. You can't even run ads for enforcing the law. Was there any ire from Chelsea Handler about ICE when Barack Obama deported 5 million people? I mean, that's the most people any president's ever deported. He is the deporter in chief. He even bragged about being the deporter in chief. No ire against ICE, no ripping families apart, no mass secret police. Were they even wearing masks? Do you even know? Did you even care? Did you even look? So whenever you see people act like this, you know that they're not boycotting Home Depot because they're concerned about the plight of illegal immigrants or they're concerned about deportations. They are only concerned or pretend to be concerned about deportations or the plight of illegal immigrants when they're told to be concerned. Like I remember a guy calling in one day saying he's concerned about police violence against black people. And I said, no, you're not. You're not concerned about police violence against black people at all. Only when you're told to be concerned about police violence with police violence against black people. Because out of it's not a lot, but there's about, 10, 15, 20, sometimes 25 or 30 deaths a year. It fluctuates because it's such a small number of stories about cops who shot and killed an unarmed black man. But you only really get upset about 2 or 3 of them a year. Why? Because those were the ones you were told to get upset about. You don't just sit there listening to the police wire. You don't just sit there checking the deportation numbers, and when it gets too high, you're upset. You don't care if kids are put in cages. You just care if kids are put in cages when the other guy's in office. You didn't care when Obama was in office. You didn't care when Biden was in office. There was kids in cages in Trump 1.0, and now it's even worse. Gestapo during Trump 2.0. I don't buy it. Nobody buys it. So Chelsea Handler boycotting Home Depot. And now we got another date here. If you were listening to the whole show, do you remember when I was telling you about the EBT Day of Action? There's a attempted movement that's trying to go viral where they're saying on November 3rd, we all go. If you got your food stamps cut, you go to the nearest Walmart at 6:30, you do all your shopping, and at 7:30 with your baskets loaded, we all walk out at the same time, and they can't stop all of us. Well, that's going to be 2 days after the November 1st. So you heard Chelsea say, we have a day of national protest November 1st against Home Depot. What the hell has Home Depot done? Oh, I'm sorry. What are we supposed to do? Throw bricks at ICE agents? When law enforcement officers come here and they arrest people who are here illegally You're ticked at Home Depot for allowing them to do it? How dare you allow law enforcement officers to, let me check my notes here, enforce the law. Yeah, you guys make a lot of sense. Chelsea Handler, you weren't going to go to Home Depot anyway. You're a millionaire living in your second home in Aspen, Colorado right now, so you can go skiing early. You live a great life. You don't have any kids. You're just a political shill. You weren't going to go to Home Depot. And funny enough, that when you try and call for a boycott of Home Depot, there's going to be a lot of people who need to go to Home Depot that day, and they're illegal aliens. What do you think they're going to do? Yeah, well, Chelsea told me this millionaire lady in her ski lodge in Aspen said that I should just not go to work today, not continue working on my job, not go get any supplies so I continue doing my job. It ain't going to happen. Listen, I am signed up on a few email lists, and I follow some Facebook groups, and I'm in some Discord servers and whatnot. There's not a real national day of Home Depot protest for 11/1 that's going to have any big effect. They know that they can't do that. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next on The James Show, Dart is celebrating, for some reason, its next big embarrassing failure. Details next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, Cowboys fans, James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. I love me some Prize Picks apps. And tonight, there is a game where a guy who's from Buck Tussle, Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs are going to be taking on the Washington Redskins. Oh, what's their name? Oh, yeah, it's still the Redskins. But check this out. This is how easy it is. Patrick Mahomes, one of the statistics, 1.5 passing touchdowns. Will he get more or less? I'm going to pick more on that one. And then all I have to do is find one other player, and it can be from any other league. Anyone's playing tonight, that's cool. If you want to stretch it out over a couple days, it doesn't have to be on the same day. But you go find your favorite players, 2 to 6 of your favorite players. You look at their statistics. You pick one that looks like it'd be the easiest one. You pick more or less on it. And you can turn a little bit of money into 2,000 times your money with America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, Prize Picks. Download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP, and you can get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP. You get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Introducing Dart's latest failure. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. If you're new to the show, just want to start off by letting you know, I hate Dart with the hot, hot heat of 1,000 suns. Okay? That's where I'm at now. Do we all have kind of a good grasp of where I stand in my thoughts on one of the, probably the biggest waste of money in North Texas history? I mean, this is past the Cowboy Stadium. This is past the Cotton Bowl. This is past pretty much every stupid, terrible idea that we've ever tried. And they just can't stop expanding the bad ideas. In this one, it's the Dart Silver Line. Now, listen, I'm going to kind of crush the optimism and the cheery nature of this report, but I do not fault WFAA for their happy reporting, because they put in there, like Dart says, Dart people claim, some people say. And so WFAA never takes like a stance where they're pro this Dart line or pro Dart themselves, but they do pass along without any pushback from the other side about this. That is my complaint, but let's just hear what they had to say about it. This happened over the weekend. If you're not, does everyone know what the Silver Line is? No? Well, good. I'll tell you. It goes from Plano to DFW International Airport. And so good. We're taking tax monies from the, super affluent people of Pleasant Grove and giving it to the poor, undertrodden people of Plano so they can get a cheaper, more convenient ride to fly on an airplane, something only 12% of us are rich enough to do on a yearly basis. So what the hell is this? We're giving like corporate lawyers and tax accountants and people who can afford a ride to the airport. So what, they don't have to park their BMW in a garage for 4 days while they're out of town on business? And we're taking money from the people who don't have a job that's affluent enough to go out of town on business. We're taking it from people who are working in drive-thrus. We're taking it from people who are working at daycares. We're taking it from hospital orderlies and construction workers and radio talk show hosts. I'm talking about the poorest of the poor. And we're giving it to the people of Plano so they can have a more convenient ride to the airport. And check this out. In the report, they say, you can get there in maybe even an hour. Well, that's how long if you took a car. Anyway, listen to this. This is great.
They are setting up for a weekend of parties at every stop along Dart's new Silver Line, a 26-mile regional rail service that spans Plano to DFW Airport. 10 stops, 7 cities, 3 counties. They predict you can get from this Shiloh Road station out east to the airport in under an hour. Dart CEO Nadine Lee tells us this is more than a celebration of new transit options. They are a celebration of regional collaboration, economic growth, and the bright future of North Texas transportation.
All right, one thing to note about this setup is each one of these trains has 2 cab cars, 2 coach cars, and the engine module is right down the middle.
Each of these vehicles seats 220 people and 485 people total for those sitting and standing. And they'll run daily between 4 a.m. to 1 a.m., arriving in 30-minute intervals during peak hours and hourly during the other times. They are set up for what Dart says is an exciting day. A day long talked about, long planned for, and what could be a victory for mobility across DFW. In Plano, I'm Jobin Puniker.
Yeah, it could be a victory for mobility across Plano. Yeah, we could also just get hit by a meteor walking outside to your car. And look, that was so inane. 26 miles, 10 stops. You're making a stop like every 2 to 3 miles? You're bragging about going 26 miles in under an hour? Oh my God, bro, if you were in a car, you could make it there and back in under an hour. 26 miles in under an hour. That's a brag? You could damn near take a bicycle. Lance Armstrong can make it from Plano to DFW Airport in under an hour on a bicycle. And it was just one bad idea after another. Each train's going to have 2 cabs and 2 coaches. How do you know? How do you look? They say it'll fit 220 if everyone's sitting down. If you want to count standing room people, 485. Will there ever be 485 people on there? What if you have the trains that are 2 cabs and 2 coaches and it's never even half full? Do you take one of the cabs and coaches off? If you need to do that, then wouldn't that make the 2 cabs, 2 coach a bad idea? How do you even know how damn big the train's going to be when you don't know what the ridership levels are going to be? Your estimates? You're going to go from 4 a.m. to 1 a.m. So there's only going to be 3 precious hours where you're not flushing taxpayer money down the toilet on trains no one's riding. And if you're like, James, why are you so harsh? Why are you so skeptical? Come sit where I'm sitting. We're down here by the AAC. We're on the AAC property. Right next to us, across the street, is one of the big train stations where people stop and get on and get off. And I have to sit here like one of the greatest libertarian nightmares of my life and watch just empty trains pull up. The door's open. No one gets on. No one gets off. Then the door's closed and the train leaves. And a few minutes later, another empty train comes up. And it's like the Truman Show. They're just like running these empty trains just so people think that they're getting things done. Whenever you see these DART trains going by, look, see how empty they are. And so they're bragging about how this could be the next bright future of, how could this be the next? We haven't had one bright future thus far. Every train line they've tried has been a miserable, embarrassing failure. The ridership levels never reach the estimates. The revenue never reaches the estimates. The expense far out exceeds what the estimates were. You were promised there'd only be a handful of employees, less than 100 employees. They got like 3,000. You say it. You were told when this was passed that the fares would cover all the salaries of the people that work there, or at least half. It doesn't even cover 10% now. You were told that DART would never be allowed to take on debt, and so there wouldn't be this recurring interest expense that just gets bigger and bigger every year the more that they fail. No, they have billions in debt for DART that you're having to pay for now. Now they want to expand this from Plano to the airport. Yeah, let's do one of these horrible ideas that fails every time it's tried. Let's make one all the way to Houston. Wouldn't that be great? No. No, it wouldn't. They're slow. They're inefficient. They're expensive. People get a little stabby. People get a little shooty. They get a little handsy. They get a little rapey. It is a terrible, terrible standard of living that I don't know, people say I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. You know what? If you were my worst enemy, I wish you do have to ride DART every day. That's the hell I hope you have to live in. I'm thinking of 2 people right now. They're not listening to the show. I wish they were. I'd say their name. Yeah, there's people I hate. I hope you have to ride DART every day. I had to ride DART for a while. It was terrible. I never had more of an incentive to get off my butt and save my money to get a new engine block for my stupid Geo back in the day. Yeah, that's how long ago it was. It was a Geo. Laugh it up. So yeah, well, we have the bright new future of DART. Here's my prediction. The ridership predicted is not going to live up to it. The revenue is not going to live up to it. It's going to be more expensive than anyone ever thought. And you're not going to have anybody on any of the local news media, whether it's the TV or newspaper or whatever, come back and say, damn, we were wrong again about every single DART project that's ever been open. 800-288-9227. If you want to try and defend DART, I don't recommend it on the James Show because I'm going to come at you hot. Coming up next, though, we're going to play Dead or Alive. If you're interested in tickets to see Seether and or Daughtry, they're playing at the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory November 11th. Just go ahead and call in right now. The category today is singers in the 60s, but you don't have to know all of them. Look, you just say Dead or Alive, and whoever's on the phone at the end of it gets the tickets. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Dead or Alive next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. It's your chance to win part of 5K a day on WBAP. Your chance at $1,000 right now. Pay off some bills. Just text COIN to 95819. That's COIN to 95819, and you could score $1,000. Sponsored locally by Mullen & Mullen Injury Law Firm. Good luck. How well do you know the mortal status of singers from the 60s? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. That's just a poetic way of saying we're going to play Dead or Alive. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jovi. Welcome to Dead or Alive. This is the James Show game show where I'm going to list 10 celebrities, and your only job is to tell me if they are either dead or alive. Today's category is singers in the 60s. Today's prize, tickets to see Seether and Daughtry. They'll be at the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory November 11th with special guest P.O.D. For more information and tickets, the rest of us are going to have to go to livenation.com. Or if you want a chance to win a pair of tickets from us, text the word broken to 800-288-9227. But someone waiting on hold is going to get a pair from the James Show right now. You want to do ladies first? Of course we do. Yes, I was going to do it anyway. We like ladies, and we're just kind of sucking up here. Hey, Michelle and McKinney, you're first up on Dead or Alive. You ready?
Yay! Yes, I am.
All right. How confident are you in your knowledge of singers in the 60s?
Pretty confident.
Okay, because this is a weird overlap. You've both got to know singers in the 60s and be interested in seeing Seether, Daughtry, and or P.O.D., so this will be fun.
It'll be awesome.
All right, number one, Bob Dylan. Is he dead or alive?
Alive.
84 years old. Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, dead or alive?
Dead.
Yeah, he just died earlier this year. John Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater Revival and The Big Lebowski, dead or alive?
Alive.
80 years old. Good call. Otis Redding, dead or alive?
Dead.
Yeah, he died in 1967, just seeing if you're paying attention. Art Garfunkel, not Paul Simon, the other guy. Art Garfunkel, dead or alive?
Alive.
Oh, my goodness, you knew that one. Grace Slick from Jefferson Airplane and a couple other bands we'd like to forget, dead or alive?
Dead.
You're doing so well. She's 85 years old. I know.
Oh, I did pretty good, though.
Yeah, you did great. You got through like the first 6 of them, and I don't know. Then you caught the white rabbit. See what I did there?
Yeah, that's where it goes.
Ah,
You have a
yeah.
good day.
All right, Mandy in Frisco, you're next up on Dead or Alive. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. There is a band called Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Crosby, is he dead or alive?
We'll say dead.
Stills, is he dead or alive?
I'm sorry, who?
And Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Stills, is he alive, dead or alive?
Alive.
You have no idea who I'm talking about, and you just guessed, didn't you?
Sure did.
Okay. All right. For number 9, there is a rock group from the 60s called Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Nash, dead or alive?
Ooh. We'll say dead.
No. Graham Nash is alive. And there's only one more left. So after we spent all this time with the ladies, now we're only stuck with dudes. What's up, Rod in Decatur? You ready to steal this episode of Dead or Alive?
I think I'm going to do it. Got one left. I can do it.
Well, you probably know who I'm going to do. There was this rock band in the 60s called Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Neil Young, dead or alive?
Alive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You did it. That's all you had to do. Rod in Decatur.
Sweet.
Are you claiming the tickets, or you want to pass them along, or what?
No, I'll take them. I love Daughtry.
All right. Well, then we have a very happy marriage here on today's episode of Dead or Alive. Again, Seether and Daughtry coming to the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory on November 11th. Special guest P.O.D. Go to livenation.com for tickets. Or if you want to win a pair from us, you people who just got brokenhearted, and don't hang up, Rod and Decatur. Garrett will get your information. But for the rest of you, you want to try and win a pair of tickets from us? Text BROKEN to 800-288-9227. The word BROKEN to 800-288-9227. All right, coming up next on The James Show, do you have any hope left that the Cowboys could possibly make the playoffs this year? Count me down as a no, but we'll check in with John Ingham next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. It's a painful question for every true Texan. Is it time to give up on the Dallas Cowboys football season? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Let's ask my next guest, John Ingham. He does the morning show over here on WBAP on the weekends, part of our media crew for Cowboys coverage, and a little more optimistic than I have been, but after the terrible game we saw this weekend, are we ready to close the curtain on the 2025 season and have our Sundays back, or what, John? Well, when we get to the point to where we're sort of halfway through the season, this used to be much easier analysis when we had 16 games instead of 17. Yeah, but when we're sort of halfway through the season and we have a losing record, the idea that we're going to make the playoffs, I mean, is disappearing over the horizon. Right? Oh, I haven't even seen this stat. I don't even know how to guess. 4? 0? 0? Okay, 1. Well, look, I've heard the rumors here that the defensive coordinator's on the chopping block, and you would think, okay, well, yeah, if you have the worst defense in the league, that's probably the guy that needs to go. But would they be the worst defense in the league without all of these injuries? Because if your problem is injuries, it seems unfair to blame the defensive coordinator. We're talking with John Ingham from the WBAP Weekend Crew. And, I really hate the fact that there's so many injuries because I don't feel like we're getting a good evaluation of this team. Because if you don't have a whole lot of injuries and your team is dog water, then you need to clean house. But on the other hand, like, how much of this is Jerry's fault? Because I feel like, a year ago, didn't we have like DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons on our front line? And, this would be almost a completely different defense if you still had those two guys. Great. All right, John Ingham, what do you think about Tim Collishaw, the Dallas media legend, who says, here's his theory: we should trade George Pickens, or the Dallas Cowboys should trade George Pickens. He's having a hell of a year. You're going to get a lot for him, and you probably can't afford to pay him in the offseason anyway, so you might as well cash in that chip and maybe get some draft picks, and then let's go rebuilding with the Micah draft picks and the Pickens draft picks, and that'll be a good way you can turn this around. What do you think about that? Gotcha. All right, good stuff. That's John Ingham, the WBAP weekend host on the James Show. That's going to do it for our time. If you need more James Parker action in the next 21 hours, go find the podcast. Coming up next, Mark Levin. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.